Let's talk about the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't talk about this story before.
Yeah.
We have it here.
A couple days ago.
Would you take out a loan to buy this week's groceries?
Gosh, I
Americans
hope not.
are increasingly turning to buy now, pay later services for food and other everyday essentials. And there are signs that the practice is putting some in deep debt. So I just want to say, if you don't have emergency food supplies, I think you're probably in a bad spot. And I know not everybody can buy them because, we normally shout at safeandreadymeals.com, and it's like $200 or $300 for a month's supply now. It used to be like 100 and something. Inflation's through the roof. We ordered some food. We ordered some takeout, got it delivered, and it was like 3 people eating, and it was like almost $100. And it's like a local diner, and we were just like, what did we get? Like, how did bite inflation? People really just are frogs in a pot boiling as all this stuff happens. I just want to stress, when MSNBC says we're in a civil war, the president comes out and says half the country are extreme threats, and people are taking out loans to buy food, please pay attention to what's going on, because this is extreme. And I'm going to say this too. I've actually been looking at properties in other countries already. No problem saying that. Notably, I will say El Salvador sounds really awesome with the Bitcoin stuff they're doing. So I've been looking at El Salvador for a while, but I want to stay in the United States and make sure we can do what we can to preserve our culture and preserve this country. In the event that, let's just say, catastrophic defeat to the point of executions or something, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get away from this place. But I also want to point out, as I've mentioned before, there are points throughout history where we've seen people flee countries before it got to the point where there were mass executions. And there are many countries where this has happened, where people have been genocided in various ways. So seeing all of this, I'm not saying that anytime soon anything like that's going to happen. I'm saying that I'm going to buy a van and go live down by the river and get ready to bug out because it's getting insane. People taking out loans to buy groceries, you have to realize that means something really bad is about to break, right?
I took out loans in 2003 to buy groceries after college for a couple of years. That was a rough point in my life, but I was making $12 an hour. It was right after 9/11. Tough to get a job. $12 an hour was good enough for me. But I still had to take out a couple $100 a month for groceries.
And food benefits exist. But this is Americans are increasingly turning to taking out loans to buy groceries.
Did you guys see the Chengdu riots? I don't know if you call them riots, but the lockdown. They're locking down 20 million people in Chengdu,
and people
China.
are just storming in and grabbing whatever they
It's
can
chaos.
to eat.
There's videos of it. People are like grabbing groceries and pouring giant amounts of rice.
This is a big issue in China with these lockdowns, and when you run out of food in China, particularly if you're of a certain age, you remember Mao's great experiment in socialism, the Great Leap Forward, when millions of people starved to death. So not having food in China is the ultimate insult, the ultimate moment when you freak out and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I might die in the process of disobeying my government, but I have to have food, because they remember what it was like to slowly starve to death. But on the inflation thing, like this is unfortunately a very predictable result of spending 6, 7, 8 trillion. I can't keep track anymore how much money we spent that we didn't have.
Well, not just that, the money supply was expanded by what, 16 trillion?
Yeah, it's all financed. They basically printed the money, and they have very more exotic ways than actually running a printing press. But this is all fake money, and it's the ultimate transfer from working people that have money in their wallets, money in their savings accounts, people that have to buy groceries. They pay, while rich people, the connected, the political insiders, and not just politicians, but when you print all this money, there's injection points in the economy, and who are those? The banksters.
Yep.
So that you have this huge wealth transfer from the poor to the rich, and this is part of Bidenomics. And one of the reasons why he did that speech, out of desperation, is that people are taking out loans to buy their groceries.
Can we just, I love pulling up the M1 money stock here. Can I just show you guys something isn't right? Because bam.
That's when the
$12 trillion increase, because savings were converted to checking accounts, basically.
Right. But look what they did that to mask what was coming right after that influx of savings, is that gigantic angle of
right here.
increase. Yes, that went from like I mean, that's like a what, a three times. It probably went from like a 20% growth.
That's like 5 times
to like a 78% gain.
It's like 5.
Yeah.
The money supply increased by 500%.
This is what Thomas Massey called the cheese in the trap when they started giving out those relatively modest checks. Like every time we passed another $1 trillion bill, just a small fraction of it actually went to people. But we're now paying for that, and all of those people that got those checks are getting utterly screwed by that spike right there.
Have you guys been paying attention to like food costs and stuff like that?
Oh, it's insane.
No.
It's been getting crazier and crazier. I remember it was a year ago, and I was like, I went to the grocery store, and it was $600, and I was shocked. And it's like, oh, now it's $800.
Yeah.
Pork is through the roof. Gotta get that bacon. Man, it's getting more and more expensive. But we have our own chickens. So, you know, they bop about, do their chicken business, and then lay eggs, and we eat them. So I don't got to worry about the cost of eggs. That's great.
I think the problem with leaving the U.S. is that as the people who fled Cuba, I think during Trump's tenure, got up on stage and were able to say, there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
And El Salvador sounds great. And Portugal sounds good to me. I've been looking at Portugal. It turns out that a lot of Californians have been moving there, so there's no hope there. This is really the last place to go.
I don't know if Brazil's are, but you know,
Brazil.
the issue is that if the U.S. does falter, that's the reserve currency. It's going to be a wild ride. So you got to wonder what happens. Like what actually, you know, Matt, what are your thoughts? What happens? Let's say the U.S. just erupts. Biden comes out tomorrow and he's like, I think it's time to put an end to this MAGA. And he starts arresting every Trump supporter, and the Gestapo's kicking doors in. And then all of a sudden the economy collapses. The U.S. dollar is kicked out by other countries. What happens?
Well, like you're thinking about escaping to Latin America. The most stable economies in Latin America are dollarized. So they've linked their currency
Bitcoin
to
in El Salvador.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to blockchain as the only solution to all of our problems because I really think it is. And there's a reason why they're going after Odyssey. They're going after Bitcoin. They're going after blockchain. They hate this stuff because of the very definition it's not controlled. The alternative to this economic collapse is going to be this technology that makes us independent of government. It's easier said than done.
But what happens if the dollar is no longer the reserve currency? Like say tomorrow, they're just like, dollar's done.
People that hold dollars are screwed.
So these Central and South American countries that are dollarized are all just belly up?
Yeah, well, they eventually will do what they did in Venezuela, where the currency is completely worthless, and you know every couple of weeks they pass a massive increase in the minimum wage, but it doesn't mean anything because their money's not worth anything. Hyperinflation is the logical result of this kind of stuff. The reason it hasn't happened in the United States is that we are tremendously wealthy. And we have things that no Latin American country has in terms of physical assets and wealth and the resilience of our infrastructure. I'm actually surprised that we haven't gotten that point already. And you realize that for all of the darkness and the things that the government has tried to do to stop the economy, there's a lot of entrepreneurship in our country. There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of people that work their butts off to make sure that there still is food on the grocery store shelves. I thought it would be worse, but
it's supposed to get really bad in the next few months, but it's supposed to get really bad a year from now or so.
Yeah.
So they're saying the fall harvest is going to be brutal, but then next year is where it really gets scary.
Yeah, there's a cascading effect on all this stuff because you have the green agenda, you have energy shortages, you have all of the farmers and truckers and the whole distribution chain. Think about the millions of people between you and your next meal that you don't know. You don't know anything about these guys. They have all been affected by what we've done over the last 2 years. And the question is, did we break the supply chain, or is it resilient? And I've been impressed by the resiliency of it, but one piece in that infinitely complex puzzle shuts things down. And maybe it's energy, the most obvious thing, but it could be anything, and we don't even understand what it is. That sounded sad, didn't it?
I thought you were white pilling us. I thought that was you were like the optimistic. I'm gonna white pill you guys.
Well, I was though, because like
I was 20 minutes ago.
You can go read the stuff that I was writing in 2020 about the supply chain and predicting like these stupid idiots don't understand how beautiful and complex this thing is, and if you decide that guy can't go to work, but that guy has to go to work. Well, that guy that has to go to work is dependent on the other guys that aren't allowed to go to work. I expected this stuff to hit in 2020, 2021. There's obviously an impact now. I think that people could easily fix these problems if the government stopped helping.
I think the government is helping their ideology. I think the climate change zealots are like, it's time to push people down. I think, look, you only need to listen to the words they say. Bill Gates thinks there's too many people. What do you do when there's too many deer in an area?
You call the deer.
You call the herd. Yeah.
So why should I
Hunting
assume
season.
that when these powerful global elites are coming out saying we're overpopulated, the planet's going to implode in 5-10 years, and there needs to be less people? It's at that point, it's more conspiratorial, in my opinion, to assume they don't want people to die.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Bill Gates is going around trying to kill people or anything like that. I'm saying they probably wish it was happening at the very least.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to replace my steak with bugs, they might succeed.
Did you hear the story about the thermostats where people couldn't change their thermostats, they were locked out?
Colorado.
And they were like, "You opted into this program. It's your fault." Because what'll happen is you're gonna get your gas turned on or your heating turned on, and they're gonna say, "Do you wanna sign up for our Energy Saver program? It'll save you $100 a year." And they'll go, "What do I gotta do?" Nothing. We just check the box, and then you get $100 off. And they go, "Cool, sure." They don't read it. They have no idea.
Sure.
Then it's 90 degrees outside, and they're like, "Why can't I change the temperature?" And they're like, "You agreed to this, Dave. That's what you wanted."
Very much
It's like,
so.
"No, I didn't. No one told me." So that's the future, man. You're gonna live in a pod. You're gonna eat the bugs. That's the gag. You know, I was talking about, I did this bit on Twitter where I said, it's 99 degrees in your house, so you go to your thermostat, but you find you're locked out, and it says, energy emergency governor's orders. So you decide to go take a drive and open the windows. You go to your electric car, and it says minimal charge, driving not available, governor's orders. And you think, ugh. So you figure, I'm going to go walk down to the park, and as you're walking down, there's a guy standing at a checkpoint, and he says, "Sir, you need your QR code if you're going to come through this checkpoint." And you're like, "But my phone's dead because I couldn't charge my phone." "Sir, you don't have a QR code. You can't come through." And then you're like, "Look, man, I just want to go to the park." And then he pulls out a cattle prod, and that's where the electricity went.
I feel like that's China today.
Right, it is. I know. I'm not
Social credit
disrespecting.
system, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we'll be soon, just like China. And then after you get tased, you get up, you walk back to your house, sit next to your pod home, reach in and grab a bag of crickets to munch on, and wait for the temperature to drop.
What do you think is the resistant way around that?
I don't know. Farm chickens.
See, I don't.
Chickens eat crickets. Chickens, you eat chickens. You
There
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
It's all about chickens.
That's
isn't
true.
it?
Everything goes
Also-
back
Yeah.
to chickens.
Well, goats.
True.
Goats are pretty cool. Goats are good people.
They're good to eat too, yeah.
Cows are all right. Cows are chill, and and cows. It's only a couple of years, so you can eat the whole thing. You know what I mean? So you just gotta keep making more of them. They eat grass. There's a lot of grass everywhere. In fact, we got so much grass, we got to pay a guy to take it from us. We like when you have big acreage, the farmers come and just take it all for you. They bale it all up, and they're like, "It's a couple $100 for us. We need it. Cows eat it." And they just take it, and how about we just get some goats? And then the goats eat the grass, and the goats give us more goats, and we eat the goats
There you go.
or the chickens.
Yeah, goats also give you milk,
Yep,
which
yep.
I remember milking when I was growing up. I wanted to say they've been pushing this energy plan in Maryland for a while now, for over a year. And I think that people are going for it because it's going to save them money. And times are so hard, they're literally taking out loans so they can get groceries. It makes perfect sense to me.
You guys ever see that bit? I can't remember who did it, where he's like a get-rich-quick scheme. And he's like, you put seeds in the dirt, put some water on it, the food just grows right out of the ground. You can sell it. You sell it to people to give you money for it. It just comes right out of the ground. It's like people really don't, people in cities really don't understand these concepts.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might be thinking, oh, come on, of course people understand farming. No, dude, Kyle Kalinske was on a plane and he took a picture out the window at a bunch of farms and said, I wonder why it looks like that. And people were like, bro, dude, come on.
What is that circle? Is that an alien thing?
Yeah.
Whereas he's having this
you're
really
looking
insightful,
at-
did you guys ever notice this?
So weird.
I
You're
think
looking at farms, dude. That's where
The-
food comes from.
the article that we were looking at before referenced buy now, pay later services, and I'm thinking of Afterpay. And I think that comes into, you can pay $40 for the shirt, or you can make 4 payments of $10 for the shirt. And I think some of that comes into our we don't like to deal with the consequences of our actions mentality that a lot of culture have. You know, there's instant gratification and there's delayed repercussion with that kind of strategy. And I think it makes people divorced from the reality of the impact they're having on their own personal finances. Obviously, inflation is a huge deal, but I think we're also trying to find ways to not feel it, and it's creating larger problems down the line.
I think it's time to move out to the middle of nowhere. You know, before we moved out to here, West Virginia, we were looking at Montana, but Montana's actually really expensive, like comparably expensive to being. So it's like, you got to find the happy medium where you're close to a city, but far enough away to where it's actually cheaper, but you still have an airport. Looked at Wyoming. I'd rather be up in a big mountain somewhere with a satellite dish, but it's impossible to run a business and fly guests in and things like that. Plus, there's no fuel and food. It's a lot harder to come by. But surprisingly, the property there is comparably expensive. You know.
So we're all moving off the grid.
I mean,
Not
yes,
you. Aren't you on Capitol Hill?
I mean, the Freedomistan we're setting up is going to be off the grid.
Yeah.
It's on the grid because we're not trying to separate ourselves from the grid for some political point. But we have the capabilities of operating independently with solar, with well water solar systems, and electric cars, electric bikes. We can charge them up with solar power and massive batteries. We're good to go. Yeah. Got to be independent. And then what we have over there, we have like 18 roosters, I think now. Got to start eating them. Yeah, Chris doesn't want to eat them though. He'd rather let them live and just be free. And I'm like, but then the fox eats them, dude. That's not fair. I want to eat them, But he doesn't want to eat them.
So your Chicago upbringing, you guys aren't ready.
I'm ready. These chickens, some of them are dicks. We got some chickens that are just mean and nasty. They're food as far as I'm concerned. The ones that are really nice, we'll let them keep laying their eggs and have babies and live a good healthy life. But you can't wait too long till you eat them, because then they get nasty. And the roosters are hard to eat anyway. They're rubbery. But you just got to put them in a pressure cooker and cook them overnight, make rooster stew or something like that.
Do you have recipes?
No, I don't.
Would we make a chicken cookbook though? I feel like that would be a Timcast product.
I think it's funny that the chickens that we have in Chicken City are in like a Truman Show, and they have no idea that we eat them, and we're eating their eggs, and they're just oblivious. And it makes me wonder about our life and everything that's going on in the world, because we're being they're treating us like chickens. They're lying to us. I let the chickens do their thing. They wake up and they run around and they eat bugs and eat food, and it's just there.
It's a beautiful home.
They don't realize that we are in control of their existence. And that's what I feel like these global elites and the World Economic Forum types are doing to us right now. Just lying to us to control us, and they're like, we don't care if they do a podcast. I don't care if the chickens scream. You know what I mean? Well, it's like they don't care if we do this.
Yuval Noah Harari calls some people useless eaters. He's claimed there's like a class of people that are considered useless, the useless class. I don't think that he would consider you in the useless class, because you're actually contributing, emotional support for society and things. But a lot of people that just get home from their 9 to 5, drink Bud Light and watch sports, it's like he considers them relatively useless, which is, I don't personally. They can do a lot, but if they're not doing a lot, that potential is not kinetic.
But wouldn't the idea be that like someone who just like consumes the products and does their job, actually they're very useful, because that's how you make your money. That's who you're showing advertising to.
No, because a lot of these jobs are useless and don't provide towards any goal, right? So the view that these people have is you are useless. Your job is useless, and if you weren't around, it'd be better for everybody. And that's a scary prospect.
People want to put them in the metaverse on pharmaceutical psychedelics. I think Yuval Noah Harari, he's with the World Economic Forum. He thinks that that's the future of the useless classes. They'll be put on like pharma
or sterilized
psychs and in their verse experiencing what they want to experience. Or sterilized,
or sure, both. But they'll be happy about it.
Or all.
They'll be completely... Look.
When it's about keeping them docile.
When Neuralink becomes public, these woke cultists are going to be lining up, screaming and begging for it. That's it. They're going to be, But yeah, and we'll see, though, if we get to that point where we actually do get, computer-brain interface working, because there's some difficulties with it. Technology may not be around the corner. Elon Musk is trying. He's got monkeys doing weird monkey stuff.
Would you sign up for it? Would you get Neuralink?
Me, no. Yeah. But there is an interesting point about, right now, the issue with Neuralink is it's like, what is it, read-only, right?
Yeah.
Right is where it gets interesting. So I'll put it this way. If you could get a port attached to your, brain stem or whatever, and it would probably be a magnet wireless transmission. I doubt it would be like a plug that clicks in, but you put it on the back of your neck, and it writes to your brain, and then all of a sudden you're in Lord of the Rings. You're in Die Hard. You're John McClane. Yippee-ki-yay. Everyone would want it. It would be a literal dream come true. People would be like, you mean I get to be the carrot? And then they go into a world where they're a carrot and they're just like running around yelling. Like some people want weird stuff, man.
They'll be trying to explain something to someone and the person's like, I don't get it. And they're like, let me show you. And then you see what they're
Avatar.
thinking. And then it's going to be like, how do I compete? I want to interact with people like that. I want to show them what I'm feeling. So I got to get the plug.
None of this sounds appealing to me, I have to say.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
No,
There's a
it
lot of
doesn't.
people
It
that
doesn't
aren't
sound
into
appealing
it.
to me. This sounds horrifying. I feel like your brain is your own personal space, and to be like, well, but if I give you a link, you can come join me here. Like, no, get out.
But it's not even about that. It's about some guy goes to work at McDonald's, and then he's just like, he's making the burger, and he's like, walks over, here's your burger, sir, thank you very much, here's your drink. And then he goes home, and he's like, he takes the thing, clicks it to his neck, and then all of a sudden, I am Valsanor, hero of the fourth wind. And then he starts fighting dragons. People are going to beg for that. They're going to line up and be like, I hate my life. I want to be a rabbit. And then they're going to go into Rabbit Sim, and they're going to run around as a rabbit. And they're going to go into Goat Simulator, and they're run around headbutting people and things like that. Or Goose Simulator. Remember Goose?
Yeah.
That Goose game? That game was fun.
Headbutt simulator would be cool. And it's going to be time dilation, so they'll be able to go in for what they perceive as 20 hours, and then when they're done, it's only an hour's gone by. I mean, how would you not want that ability?
People are going to go visit loved ones who died. It's going to get dark, but people are going to beg for it. They're going to be like, in this simulated world, we've taken all of your father's Facebook posts, compiled them into an AI, and now you can go and hang out at a cafe for his birthday. And you're going to go in, and he's going to be there, and he's going to be like, I'm a robot, but I'm your dad. And then you're going to be like, I miss you, Dad. And
it could be to the point where
dude.
anyone that resists that could be seen as a terrorist to the status quo. Like if you wanted to stop people from getting embedded in that system, you're in the way of what's right and what's good, and you are a danger to society. Like I can see
you're
that
a religious zealot.
Dumb shit.
I mean, the thing is, if you believe in liberty, you would let people sign up for it if they want to be in it. But ultimately, every time you come out of that simulation, you'll feel more depressed. You'll hate your life even more. I think you would hope that enough people want to invest in the fact that they have a real life that they can make whatever they want out of it.
Or they could go into Pain Simulator, and then when they come out, they're like, well, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, but look at postmodernism. People don't believe in reality. They don't believe in objective reality. They would rather live. You know what? Hey, I say let them do it. In fact, we should all agree. All the postmodernists, how about we give you guys Neuralink? We hook you guys up, put you into pods. We'll make sure that pod economy is working just fine for all of you because we don't want you coming out. And then we'll live our lives. Everything will be fine, and you get to live the world you want to live in. Everything works. We believe in objective reality, so we'll take objective reality. You take the pod universe, and we'll polish those pods nice and clean all for you. And there you go. It works for me.
I don't think so.
Finally, a happy ending to this.
Yeah, and then it worked out.
This is such a dark conversation.
Yeah, because if you do put people in pods and then kind of let them off on their own, it'd be like letting an AI figure out how to wipe out humanity on its own. If you don't watch it and watch what it's doing, it can very well be working to destroy you in the background.
I feel like I've seen this movie. It's interesting. Yeah.
I was just thinking about Terminator 2 last night.
I don't
Miles
really.
Dyson, man.
But the issue with the Matrix is it shouldn't be robots, it should be people. People run the Matrix, and some people want to be in the Matrix, and they choose to be. And what would really end up happening, or I think a probable scenario, is that if we actually built the metaverse, you'd have a lot of people, and there'd be a company and says, we can hook you into the metaverse permanently. Your body will be suspended in a float solution. We'll take care of you to make sure there's no injuries. We'll keep you healthy, and your body will be regulated. And the Neuralink will actually stimulate muscle growth and will provide you with a feeding tube. And in this universe, you will do work, and that work will interact with objective reality. You can leave at any time. Tons of people would sign up for that. And then what would you do in the digital world? Coding, jobs related to the arts and things like that, and software development.
And then just harvest your body heat, get some
No.
piezoelectric gel that's
you're in the
electrical
metaverse.
charge.
You're in the metaverse, and you're a philosophy teacher, or you're a mathematician,
I see.
or you're a software developer, or you're a consultant, or any kind of non-physical labor job. You'd host a podcast, and then people in the real world listen to your show, and you're just in a pod floating there, but your brain is creating this simulation, and you make money from that. And then you have to pay the pod company a percentage of revenue or a yearly fee of, $20,000 or whatever to maintain the pod for you. And you live in your own universe. And then in this universe, let's say you host a podcast. And then when the podcast is over, you stand up and you're like, all right, guys, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to go fight some dragons for the next few hours and then fly away. And then your guest is like, I'm going to go be a dragon, and then turns into a dragon and flies off. That's the world people are going to want to live in. And they're going to pay to do it.
And like your super chat followers will be in your party at the end of the night. You're like, now I'm going to fight dragons, and like the top 4 super chatters are going to be in the party with you fighting the dragons tonight.
Yeah, you're going to be like, if you super chat and you're in the top 4, you get to come fight dragons or aliens or zombies or zombie alien dragons, whatever.
I totally believe you that people will pay for this and people will want it. It just personally sounds so unappealing to me. I believe so fundamentally that you have this life to live and you have to do something with it in this time. Like deciding that you are going to, it's like as if you were telling me, I'm just gonna spend the rest of my life watching TV. Like that's what I'm hearing when you sign up for Neuralink. Like you're just looking to be distracted from the reality of the world. And if that's your choice, I respect it. Like I don't want to tell people what to do, but I think ultimately you're lying to yourself if you think you will ever be a more satisfied person from completely devoting your life to the metaverse.
Postmodernists will be.
Maybe so.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're very happy now, but maybe.
Well, they don't want to be what they are. Mm-hmm. They're like, there are people who want to be cats. There are people who want to be animals, and there are people who want to be cartoon animals. They identify as these things. They would absolutely take the Neuralink implant.
But it's better than just watching TV like it did another. It's like if you were reading Twitter all day and then making an internet video show on YouTube at the end of the night. Like kind of like exactly what Tim does and what I do.
See, I mean, the important thing people need to understand right now is that this show is actually produced in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Like we're not real people.
I hate it here.
We were
Hannah Claire is actually a 35-year-old man named Bob.
Send help.
So it's an interactive way to experience humanity, but you're saying that you think power off, like just being out in the field is better? Like what do you mean it's not good?
I mean, I think fundamentally it's a deception, right? You may feel like you're fighting dragons, you may feel like you have a podcast, and you may have some kind of relationship with someone who also is pretending to be something. It, to me, reminds me of the criticism you get of social media, right? That everyone is putting out a fake front. And that's why we tell people to stop checking Instagram and Twitter all the time, because it's actually bad for your mental health.
You know, it'd be really funny, though, if like it turned out all of this is one weird metaverse simulation for Hannah Claire, who's actually a 56-year-old morbidly obese man who's like, I just want to be a young blonde woman.
Aww.
And so like you're sitting here being like, you're all crazy, metaverse is terrible, but like it's actually your simulation.
Yeah, I think if I were to wake up and realize that I was in the metaverse and that was true, I would be really miserable, which means I would go back into the metaverse, right? And I think that's terrible. Like I think giving people, we talked about earlier that Facebook intentionally tried to see if they could make people depressed and followed the content they produced afterwards. Like that is what this is opening the door to, because what is the point of not having you hooked up to the Neuralink?
You're going to be on your deathbed and your family's going to be around you and they're going to be like, we love you, Nana. And you're going to be like, I lived a good life. And then all of a sudden it's going to blink and you're going to wake up as a 56-year-old morbidly obese guy and you go, back to the salt mines and gotta go to work.
But think of all the relationships you would form
work.
in the metaverse that you would think are real, and then if anything were to happen to your pod, would get deleted. They're not real.
I mean, kind of, but I don't lament not hanging out with Princess Peach after I beat Mario. So I
had a friend that did an ayahuasca ceremony, and he said it was like a 2-day ceremony, and he said he lived another life in this ceremony, like a psychedelic experience where he had family, a wife and children that he remembers and still to this day misses. Like he knows them. That's wild.
Yeah, dude. I've heard a lot of crazy stories like that. DMT is crazy.
I think just being told constantly that like even if you forget, right, you're in the metaverse so intensely and you're doing whatever, if it ever were to be over, you would be destroyed, right? And I think that's why you have to live your real life and not your fake life. And if there are things that you are aspiring to be, right? Like I can't help you if you want to be a cartoon cat. Maybe you should draw one and become a cartoonist.
Or
right?
Go to the metaverse. You could be a cartoon cat.
Don't go to the metaverse. Don't go.
You going in, Matt?
I'm not going in.
Yeah.
Are you gonna?
I'm analog. I want to actually live the life I have. So call me old school.
Will you work with the developers on it?
I don't think it's old school. It's my current thought.
Unless I can become a cat, because that sort of sounds cool.
You can.
Yeah.
In the metaverse, you can be a cat.
I just want to knock.
That's how they get you. It's gonna be like drugs. They're gonna be like, just try it once, see what being a cat's like.
I just want to knock stuff off the counter.
No one will blame you for it.
Same.
It's like all I ever want to do is climb up on someone's table and just throw stuff onto the floor.
right.
Scratch it.
You could do that in your real life. I just want you to know
now,
that.
why do they do that? You know what I mean?
They're dominant.
They do this thing where
They're
they go to a
bored.
door and then yell at you, and you open the door and they turn around and walk away. Like they just want the door
It's
open.
power.
Is that what it is?
Power play.
It's because cats are libertarians.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
believe
love?
this.
I love it when they go up to a door and they start yelling. and then they'll like put their paws under it and are shaking the door and yelling at you like, open it. And then you open it and they just walk off.
Yeah.
I had a
Like,
cat
they
who-
just don't want the door closed.
Yeah.
Keep it open.
I had a cat who would like stand there and scratch the door constantly. Like he thought he could dig his way through it. You'd open the door and he'd be like, I don't even know why you did that. Like I'm going the other way now.
So Bocus downstairs in the pantry, he's always screaming like to open the door. And you do, and he immediately runs to these loose kibbles that are on the ground because he's a weirdo. And he's tricking you. It's a trick because as soon as you walk away, he jumps into the box of bacon.
That's right. I've seen him do that.
And then he starts tearing the bacon open
that
and
animal.
eating all the
He's
bacon.
an animal. Yeah, it's true.
And then when I caught him doing it, I picked him up and he was
Genius.
yelling. He was like,
Genius.
and then he yelled at me. He was pissed.
Yeah.
One time it was really funny. He was trying to go in the garage and I kept blocking his path. And then he got really mad and just went like this with his hand real slow and then whacked me one time on the leg. And then I was like, what are you doing? And then he just walked away.
I went up behind him. He was looking out the window, and I kind of roughly petted him on his sides, and he turned around and swiped at my face with full claw.
Jeez.
Yes.
Just got the hair, but he was letting me know I'm faster than you, sharper than you. Just don't mess with me,
Just
bro.
a shot across the bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never touched him that way
You're
again.
not. Yeah,
We
you're
have a
only
much
supposed
better
to like
relationship
go
now.
with the flow of their
Yeah.
fur. They don't like
Fridays
against.
are the best.
Watch their
This is the
tails.
important news.
Yeah, it's very important.
If
yeah.
they start flipping their tails,
Everybody-
you gotta lay
Yeah.
off.
Everybody can relate to,
So,
you know.
yeah, my cats are
Kitty business.
hardcore objectivists. They,
Oh, yeah.
Rourke, Ragnar, and Reardon.
Nice.
and they absolutely believe that they are superior.
Of course.
And frankly, they are.
What's the hierarchy like over at the Kibbe household?
They own everything, and they eat better than we do. Like when we're eating crickets, they're still going to be eating the good beef, because that's the way it is. And by the way, like the other half of this story, and this will upset some people listening. Dogs are actually communists. I don't know if you've noticed this.
For sure.
Yeah, dogs are communists.
Always looking for
sure.
a handout, always
That's right.
looking for like secondhand affirmation, like a pat on the head. My cats don't do that stuff.
Yeah, cats are libertarian.
Do you think that a pet dog, if faced with a pack of dogs that wanted him to join, would look at you in the eye and be like, "Sorry, bro, I'm going with
gotta go."
I'm a communist at heart.
100%. Yeah.
Don't trust them.
Yeah. Don't trust
I
them.
want to love dogs.
I
They
think-
look like psychopaths when I look into their eyes.
I think that's one of the reasons it's
No,
so.
dogs are all right.
It's so nice when a cat likes you because like
You
they
earn
don't
that.
have to. Whereas
Yeah.
dogs, like they think you're in this together, and cats are like, I'm choosing this relationship with you. You are
Yeah.
lucky to have my
when
tolerance.
a cat gives you a little bit of love, it's a boost to your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Finally, I matter.
yeah, dogs are clingy, but I like dogs. Dogs, you know, I
No,
like
we
dogs
like-
because they're loyal. They're like
Yeah.
loyal soldiers. You know,
do
they're
like
there
them a
for you.
lot.
And like
Bingo.
you're not going to get your cat to do like you can never train a cat to do anything. They train you.
Can't even get Bocus use a litter box. He pissing on the floor.
There's a theory that
dickhead.
cats domesticated humans back in the day.
Oh,
That's how it all
yeah.
happened. It happened kind of
that, yeah.
synergistically, but a big part of it was cats
Well, one
teaching
of the
people
things-
how to chill.
Cats are an invasive species that we tolerated.
Yeah, they're great.
One of the
'Cause they
things I've
ate
heard
mice.
is like cats.
That's not true. That is incorrect.
They didn't meow. They started doing that to talk to humans.
Right.
Like that they don't do this in the wild and they do it for your benefit,
Yeah.
which I
So,
think is hilarious.
Dogs
So
were
cute.
domesticated by humans and wolves slowly being pushed together for mutual benefit. Cats just hang out and people laugh because they're funny, and cats don't bother us. That's why they're technically domesticated in that sense, but you can train them, but they're not really trainable because we did not. Like livestock, beasts of burden, all trained. Horses trained. Cats, sometimes people will train a cat because you can, but for the most part they don't. You can do some kind of training with them, but for the most part, because cats came into human existence by like jumping through our windows and then we laughed about it. Not because they ate mice. Terriers were bred for hunting mice and
rat
rats.
terriers.
Is there any way to get a male cat to stop peeing?
Yes.
How?
Diapers. We have diapers for him.
He
they're
can't like
downstairs.
that though. That must drive him nuts.
He walks all funny, but if he's gonna piss on the floor, give him a diaper.
and they make like
Teach him a lesson.
those sprays that are supposed to like tell your cat not to pee there and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he's
Cat urine, you like have to soak the. I don't know why I'm giving this advice out on the podcast. But anyways, I had a really great cat. He died just about a year ago, and I was obsessed with him. But he went whenever I like moved or something. He had a really hard time adjusting with pee places, and you have to clean with apple cider vinegar because it's the smell is so intense. They can go back to exactly the same spot.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.